try to give me all of you to know? Or did you just let go? What do you want from me? Honey, I can't even breathe. Tell me if I found what you can't see, would you come back to me? Tell me now, baby, would you come
we start this training off. So on the count of 3, go crazy, go nuts, shake the windows, wave the dogs. Let's mute everybody. We need to get everybody muted here. All right. So on the count of 3, we're going to go crazy. Here we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Well, as I said, my name is Tad Schinke. I'm Tony's head trainer. Welcome back to all of our Inner Circle people. This is session 3 of Tony's RPM training. And here's the deal, people. You guys are going to have a blast today. Now, the Inner Circle people that were here for sessions 1 and 2, we're glad to have you back. I know there's a bunch of new Inner Circle folks, so welcome back. We also want to welcome our Platinum partners, our trainers, our coaches, our senior leaders. Great to have you all here. And let's go ahead and cover again the rules of the game, just in case anyone is confused. Number 1, state is everything. All right. State truly is everything. The better the state you're in, the quicker you'll learn, the deeper the knowledge will go in. Anything and everything you do will be better in a great state. And we're actually going to talk about that in more detail later on in today's session. So state is everything. Number 2, total focus. Total focus. So, shut your phones off, close the door on your office, do whatever you got. So you need to do to be able to focus on this training. Focus is everything too. So gotta get focused. Number 3, take notes. All right. Take notes like you're going to teach this to somebody, because the likelihood is you are going to be teaching it, because this is going to be so valuable to you. You are going to want to share it with everyone who is important to you. And last but not least, in fact, it really is the most important thing. You got to follow through. You got to follow through. You got to do it. All right? Because if you don't do it, it's a waste of your time, your effort, and your energy. So you must do it. Follow through. It's vitally, vitally important. All right. So I bet you're wondering, what are we going to do today? Well, I'm going to share that with you. Today's session is going to be focused on celebrating what's great and what can be improved, and effectively taking your implementation of RPM to the next level, because it's all about taking things to the next level. As I said, when we first started this training, RPM has a lot of layers to it. Some people, when they first see it, they feel it's, really complex, but the reality of it is, it really is simple. It really is simple. Secondly, we're going to introduce you, or maybe reintroduce you, to a powerful tool that is going to help take your RPM to the next level. A powerful tool that's going to help take your RPM to the next level and be able to allow you to tap into positive emotions. Now, for those of you that have been here for sessions 1 and 2, you've heard me say a number of times that RPM is an emotional process. RPM is an emotional process. And so we've got to make sure that we're doing everything within our power to bring emotion to the RPM process. It's not just intellectual. That's everybody else's planning system is intellectual. RPM is emotion. And we're going to give you some tools today to allow you to take that to the next level. And last but not least, we're going to discover and practice. And for many of you, it's going to be a review, the triad, because everything is better when you're in a great state. I said that in the very opening when I was covering the rules of the road. State is everything. Well, we're going to actually go through how to build a triad that is going to be perfect for you. It's going to be perfect for you, and it's going to serve you in every possible way. Well, we always want to start with some celebrations. So, and I've seen a bunch of people have been posting on Facebook. We're going to come to the Facebook shares and just posts in just a second. But I'm wondering if there's anybody who's on here live that would like to share a breakthrough that they've had, an aha that they've had, something that they've learned during the course of this training. All right. And if you go ahead and raise your virtual hand, let's go with Ramesh. Ramesh, come on down. Yes. Give it up for Ramesh. Ramesh, where are you coming to us from?
I'm in San Diego, California.
San Diego, beautiful, sunny San Diego, California. Excellent. Well, what was your breakthrough or aha or lesson learned?
My aha moment was when I started doing the RPM and I was writing down my purpose. It kind of led to me realizing that what are my top needs? I am doing this to gain something. And in the past, I've really not been able to figure out what my top two needs are. But then I found out the aha moment was, well, I'm writing my purpose. And I find out, for example, I'm doing something for work. I want to do a kick-ass job because I want to be able to have a favorable side with one of my leaders, right? Then there I realized that was significance. In a different place at family, I realized that was contribution. So that really crystallized it for me. And that was an aha moment for me.
Beautiful. That's fantastic, Ramesh. You know, that's why I love doing these trainings, and I love doing training in general and coaching and going to events as part of the trainer team, because I always get to learn things. You know, it's so obvious that the purpose statement is going to be more powerful if it ties into our top two needs. And you did a beautiful job of uncovering that and sharing it for everybody so that they can take advantage of it. If you know what your top two needs are, you want to make sure you're tapping into that when you tap into your purpose. So let's give it up for Ramesh. Come on, give it up for Ramesh. Way to go, buddy. All right. Who else? Anybody else like to share? We have such bashful people on these calls. I don't know what the deal is. Anybody else want to share? Going once, going twice, going three times? Let's go and take a look at some of those Facebook shares, because you guys have been blowing up the Facebook page, the Inner Circle Facebook page, with some of your observations. So let's just take a couple of them. Jeff, my key learning is switching my focus from the list of to-dos I need to complete to the results and purpose. It seems like a minor change, but for me, it's made a huge difference. Yes, this is, and thank you, Jeff, because this is like one of the keys. Most people only focus on their to-dos, and they never get to what's really important to them. They never get to the results that are really, really important to them. And so this is fantastic. Let's go with David down on the bottom left corner there. I love digging into how to associate with the future you that's already achieved the outcome and getting your why power emotionally from that, as opposed to cerebrally thinking about why it's important in general. Cerebrally, that's a tough word to say, on the fly here. Cerebrally. Got it, I think. All right, but it's a great observation, and thank you for sharing that, David, because one of the keys to tap into all of the energy, the power, the emotion, is to create your RPM blocks from a fully associated state. Doing it from a fully associated state. It is absolutely vital that you do that from a fully associated state. It's fantastic. That's a fantastic observation. Let's go with one more. Jemmy in the bottom right-hand corner. Make sure to keep my focus on the juicy, as Tony refers to it in the program, my ultimate why, vision, missions. Our heart is always in the right place. I'm aligning everything to that vibration. Grateful for all of you. I wanted to highlight this one because we're going to talk about juicing up your RPM. Juicing up your RPM blocks, juicing up your magnificent sevens, because this is an emotional state. All right, so let's do a quick review. Let's start with that high level chunk. You know the deal. RPM is a system of thinking. Now, I can tell some of you are sitting there and saying, how many times is he going to tell me that RPM is a system of thinking? Well, I'm going to tell you that probably every time we get together, and probably multiple times every time we get together, because it is so vitally important. You know, one of the things that you've heard Tony say, repetition is the mother of skill. And at a recent event, he came up with seek to repeat. Seek to repeat, because he said, when he shared it with me, he said, repetition is the mother of skill. It's an accurate statement, but it's very passive. It's very passive. There's no action to it. And if something is really important, you must look for opportunities to repeat it. Seek to repeat it, because you're building that muscle. So you want to look for opportunities to repeat things. You know, and did an event last week, Wealth Mastery, and we had a leadership day. And I was talking about some of my experience at West Point. For those of you that are not from the United States, West Point is a military academy. So there's lots of rules. There's lots of specific ways to do things. And your freshman year is referred to as your plebe year, and you're hazed. You're given a hard time your entire plebe year. And during your plebe year, you have to memorize all kinds of stuff that, you know, really probably doesn't have a lot of value. But the purpose behind requiring you to memorize things and to get it right was because if you know, when you graduate from West Point, you become a second lieutenant in the Army, you go out, you're a platoon leader, you lead 35 or 40 soldiers, men and women. And one day they may depend on you for their life. And one of the things that regularly happens if you're preparing for combat is to call in for field artillery support so that you can get help if you're engaged with an enemy. Well, when you call in field artillery support, you have to provide them with either 6 or 8 digit coordinates of where you're at. And it's pretty important, like absolutely essential that you get it right. Because if you don't, you could bring artillery fire in on top of you. So seek to repeat. If something's important, seek opportunities to repeat it. And that's why we're going to go over some of these things over and over and over and over again. So let's take a quick look at the RPM block. Now, here's how I'm going to make a quick suggestion, because I want you to see how quick and easy it is to create an RPM block. Just grab a piece of paper. It doesn't have to be your workbook. Just grab a blank piece of paper, draw two lines down the page, a line across the top. It could be on a napkin for all I care, the back of an envelope. When I go through this, I want you to challenge yourself to actually create a quick RPM block. It's not something for something that's super complex or involved, but something that's simple, just so you can see you can do this on the back of an envelope. You don't need to have a form to fill it out. You can do it because it's all really just a system of thinking. Three key questions. The first thing is always the result. What's the result? We talk about making it SMART: specific, measurable, action-oriented, realistic, time-defined. And all of this stuff is in the workbook. The workbook is absolutely a phenomenal resource that I encourage you to utilize. That's the result. We always start with the result. And when we get done with it, we put a big circle around it. So just jot down, what's some result? It's specific. And it's got a time frame to it, because that's one of the other keys. The second thing is always the purpose. And we want to make this whole process emotionally charged, but we want to make sure that we are giving, special focus to the purpose statement, because this is the emotional juice part of your RPM block. Because the bigger the purpose, the bigger the why, the quicker you're going to get there. The quicker you're going to get there, the shorter the path is going to be. It makes everything go faster. And we answer these three questions. How's it going to make me feel? What's it mean to me? Who have I become in the process? And now, having seen yourself accomplished whatever it was that you have in that result, you've done it. And you're in this fully associated plate. You're celebrating your success. And third, last but not least, is your massive action plan column. Your massive action plan column. And you just jot down a couple of actions there. Just jot down a couple of actions. How easy was that? It's super easy. It's super easy and super fun. And one of the keys is, once you create an RPM block, you got to make sure that you schedule time to work on it. Because the most beautifully formed, formatted, done, completed RPM block never executed is not really worth much. You must schedule time to complete it. Another reminder, we know that RPM is a top-down system. In our last session, as you recall, we did the driving force. All right, the driving force, your ultimate vision, ultimate purpose, your passions, and your goals. And then we've got your categories of improvement, your personal and professional, and then your magnificent sevens for each of those. Speaking of magnificent sevens, let's take a look at magnificent sevens. Now, it's called the Magnificent Seven. I don't even know if I mentioned this, but you guys are really smart. I'm sure you figured it out. It's called Magnificent Seven because there's 7 chunks. There's 7 pieces to it. And we covered the first 4 pieces in pretty decent detail. So we talked about the vision, very similar to the result, only bigger and broader from RPM block. We talked about the purpose, very similar to the purpose from an RPM block. The roles, these are different hats or different costumes that you wear within that particular category. And the 3 to thrive, these are the 3 keys to success in that category of improvement. And what we're going to do now is we're actually going to drill down and talk a little bit more about the last 3 chunks of your Magnificent Seven. Because the 5th chunk is resources. And this is just a list of all the different resources that you have at your disposal that could support you in getting the success, accomplishing the goals that you've set for yourself in that category. It could be Tony events, wealth mastery, life mastery, could be products of Tony's or products of others, the ultimate relationship program for your relationship category. It could be books that you're aware of. It could be blog posts or webinars or people. Maybe you've got a really good friend that's a couple that's been married for 50 years and they still appear to have unbelievable passion in their relationship. You could put them down, because here's why this is important. You want to have this available to you because you want to make sure that if you run into some rough water, some difficult times, some challenges, you want to have already put down someplace in black and white here in your Magnificent Seven, some resources that you could turn to help you continue to move forward. Tony, as many of you know, has done a lot of work with Chloe Madonis, and Chloe was rated one of the top relationship therapists in the world for I don't know how many years running. And she's got so many great tools and concepts and foundational beliefs, but one of them is, if you aren't able to solve a problem that is facing you, widen the circle. Widen the circle. And this is really you making kind of pre-arrangements to be able to widen the circle. So you've got people you can reach out to, programs you can do, books you can reread or go back and refer to. That's the reasoning behind the results, or not the results, the resources. And one of the things that that Tony regularly says is that success in life is never impeded or prevented by a lack of resources. Lack of resources is not what prevents people from being successful. What prevents people from being successful is a lack of resourcefulness. It's a lack of resourcefulness. And really, and this is literally just coming to me as I'm saying this, RPM is really an exercise in expanding your resourcefulness. It's an exercise in expanding your resourcefulness. So that's the resources piece. Let's look at the next chunk, which is the 1-year goals and the 90-day goals. Now, if we chunk this up and look at it from a higher perspective, we want to make sure that we're staying focused on our long-term results. All right, you want to stay focused on your long-term results, while at the same time breaking those long-term results down into actions that you can do on a regular daily basis. Now, if you recall, when we talked about creating RPM blocks, I suggested having RPM blocks that were no more than 30 days. And that's one of the reasons why, is because you want to have actions that allow you to feel like you're making progress. The challenge when people just have an annual goal, typically the gap from where they're at to where they want to get is so big. It's so big that they couldn't possibly get there very quickly. And so it's vitally important to yes, you want to stay focused on the long-term result. And that's really what the Magnificent Seven vision is about. That's your long-term result. And that's also what this component of the Magnificent Seven, your 1 year and your 90-day goals, because just going through and taking that 1-year goal and breaking it down into quarterly goals, what am I going to accomplish in the next 90 days? It forces you to get greater clarity, and it allows you to dial in on some actions that you can actually do in a shorter period of time. The key is daily progress on your actions. You got to be flexible in your approach and adjust, but you've got to ensure that every day you're taking a bite out of the elephant and taking one step forward. You're not trying to eat the whole elephant at one time, because that usually almost always leads to massive frustration. And not surprisingly, that leads us to the last component of the Magnificent Seven, which is your RPM action plans. Your RPM action plans. The key is to take action. I said it when we were reviewing the RPM block. You can create the most beautiful RPM block. And the same is true. You can create the most beautiful, well thought out Magnificent Seven. But if you don't translate that bigger picture to a specific action, I'm going to do X, I'm going to do Y, you're not going to have the kind of success that you are capable of having. And one of the keys is here, you've got to measure often. You've got to measure often. Classic example, if I check in and measure something just on an annual basis, and I find I'm off track, now a whole year has gone by before I can make a change. If I just decide that I'm going to check in with myself on a monthly basis, I now have 12 opportunities in the course of a year to make changes and get things back on track. If you focus on daily actions, now if today something blew up in your calendar and you weren't able to take the actions that you wanted to take, you only have missed a day, because tomorrow is a new bite at the apple, if you will. And now you have an opportunity to take that action forward, as opposed to waiting till the end of the year and saying, oh my God, I wanted to gain 75 pounds of lightness and I've made no progress whatsoever. Now, we also talked about scheduling. Schedule it. Schedule it, people. You got to schedule it. And this is true of your RPM blocks, those actions, you got to schedule them. As it relates to the categories of improvement, we talked about creating block time. So from 11 to 12 today, I'm going to focus on my relationship category of improvement and refine my ultimate vision statement, whatever it is. But you have to put it on your calendar. You must. You absolutely must, or it's not going to happen. And you've got to make your priorities as important as everybody else's priorities, because everybody else will fill your calendar up with things if you don't take control of it. And the other thing we talked about was you actually leaving some white space on your calendar. Leaving some white space on your calendar for the unexpected, because there's always going to be unexpected things that come up. Now, I'm curious, and I'm going to ask for people to raise their hands, and I got to look around and see how many people created white space on their calendar. Yes, come on, wave at me. Excellent. All right. How many people actually scheduled at least one specific action item on your calendar and actually did it? Anybody? Yes, everybody. Fantastic. You must schedule it, and then treat it like you would at an important appointment. If you had a dentist appointment and something came up, you wouldn't just say, well, I'm never going to go to the dentist again. No, you'd say, hey, something came up. I wasn't able to do it when I thought I was going to be able to do it. So I'm going to reschedule time with myself. Reschedule time with myself. Now, the feedback model. We talked about the feedback model. And we talked about the 3 chunks, or the 3 pieces of the feedback model. Piece number 1 is noticing and acknowledging specifically, and I underline the word specifically, what somebody's done that's positive. All right. You want to start by giving them some positive feedback, because as I shared last time, it goes with Tony's neuroassociative conditioning, gets you into an agreement frame. Your mind is now opened up. You're nodding your head. Yes, I agree with that. They're telling me things that I did well. Yeah, I know I did that well. And now they're going to be able to hear the second chunk, which is one thing specifically that they could do better. This is tapping into Tony's constant and never-ending improvement, or CANI. And then we always end with something that was great. So we've got a couple examples here. Let's put up the create an RPM block. Now I'm going to give you just a second and look there. And I'm not going to ask you to share, but just look for 1 or 2 things that you think are really good about this RPM block. All right. And now look for 1 thing that could make this RPM block even better. And then maybe 1 more thing that is great about this RPM block. Now, if I was providing feedback using the feedback model that we've just talked about, I'd say, I saw in your purpose statement, you've got financial wizard. I love that. That language is so juicy, so powerful. It creates a picture. I can almost feel it. Your financial wizard. And then the second thing that I notice is your massive action plan column. You've got some really great things in your massive action plan column. Create your money machine. I mean, these are like foundational things that are going to change everything for you. And then I would move on to the CANI. And for me, the CANI that I would mention was, you said within 60 days. One of the things we talked about is that there's real power There's real power in saying, or in having a specific date. By June 30, 2022, I have done X, Y, and Z, or Z, depending on what part of the country or world you're from. All right. And then I got to have one more thing to end it on something that's great. And still, we want to make sure we're being specific. And I'd say, hey, I love the way you circle the result, because it's like my eyes are drawn to it. It's like the bullseye. It's like the focus of everything. It's absolutely phenomenal. All right. Let's take a look at a Magnificent Seven. And if you don't already have yourself in speaker view, I'd encourage you to put yourself in speaker view, because you'll be able to see, this slide's got a lot of info on it. You'll be able to see this better. Again, I'm just going to quickly go through this. The things I would say that are great, and there's tons of things that you could say that are great. This is a great Magnificent Seven, but I'd say the roles: Babelicious, Student, Powerhouse, Adventure, Buns of Steel, great, juicy language there. Also, the 3 to Thrive really identified some key things for success: stop eating sugar and bad fats, complete a 5-day cleanse, exercise 5 times a week. Now I switch to what could make it even better. The Kanai I would share is the vision and purpose statement that you put together isn't stated in the present, meaning you want to state your vision and your purpose statement as though it's already done. It's the current reality, as opposed to something that is out there a ways. And then I would end with another thing that was great is the 1-year 90-day goals. Very, very specific and very, very powerful. All right, so here's the deal. We have finished the amazing review. And so we are going to crank the energy and dance a little bit to get the body moving, because we're now going to talk about and cover some new things. So on the count of 3, here we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Get up, move your bodies, dance, come on, move that body. Move that body. You got some water, you can drink some water. All right. Yes. Welcome back. You feel better now that you got that blood flowing again? Very nice, very nice. I see some color in many of your faces. I know some of you're up in the middle of the night. God bless you. Well, what we're going to talk about now is that tool that I mentioned when we started this, that is going to help take your RPM, all aspects of your RPM, to the next level. And it's language. It's language. Because language, the words you use are either pulling you forward toward your result, or they're pushing you back away from your result, or they're pushing you back away from your results. And we want to make sure that we're using language that is serving us and that is moving us forward, because language is the basis of everything. And it makes no difference whether it's English or German or Russian or Swahili. It makes absolutely no difference. Your language is going to control how successful you are at RPM. Now, let's cover some stats. And I know this is English based, but there's 600,000 words in the English language. And the average person will use 2,000 to 3,000 of them in their lifetime. So 600,000 total, and the average person uses 2,000 to 3,000 of them in their lifetime. And what's even more astounding is that the average person will only use 200 to 300 words on a regular basis. Think about that. We have 600,000 options, and we're using 200 to 300 of them. anything you can do to expand your use of your language. And again, this doesn't make any difference whether it's you speak English or another country as your first language, because while I don't have the data on it, I'm confident that it's very similar to this data. Now, what's also interesting is there are 3,000 or so words that express emotion in the English language, and actually 2,000 of them are negative. 2,000 of them are negative. And here's the truth. Words produce emotion, and in many respects, it's actually almost hardwired at times. All right? And if you just listen to me now. In fact, just close your eyes for a second. Close your eyes and listen to me. He stabbed me in the back. Okay, open your eyes. How many of you felt, an emotional charge, probably not a positive one, in your body when you heard he stabbed me in the back? Yeah, because language, it's hardwired. And there's so many different examples of this. This is one that Tony shares regularly from the stage. Think about the difference between saying you're wrong, you're mistaken, you're a liar. All right? You can't help but feel a charge, and a negative charge, when you hear you're a liar. Now, let's take a look at money, a money manager. Same kind of thing. Money manager versus a mover and shaker versus a treasure hunter. I mean, how many people can feel differently just hearing treasure hunter than they did money manager? Come on, raise your hand, wave. This is an interactive program. Got to look around and see your bright shining faces. All right, let's take a relationship example. You can refer to somebody as your spouse. You could refer to them as your lover, or you could refer to them as your love goddess or God. The language, I mean, it seems complex sometimes when people think about it, but you got to recognize that it's really not that complex. You intuitively know language that excites you, that juices you, that feels right, that gets your blood flowing, that causes a chill to go through your body, and you want to become more conscious of the language, because words do matter. Words do matter. Now, we're going to take just a couple of minutes, grab a piece of paper, and what you're going to do is write down some of the words that you use on a daily basis. Write down some of the words that you use on a daily basis. Go ahead. Put a big smile on your face and write. "47 seconds remaining, approximately." What are words, some of the words that you use on a daily basis? Not just the positive ones. Maybe you recall a less than positive one, or a couple less than positive ones. All right, go ahead and wrap that up. And we're actually just going to continue this exercise. We're now going to brainstorm juicy words. So if you go to page 10 in your workbook, if you have your workbook, great. If you don't, any piece of paper will work fine. And go ahead and brainstorm some juicier words. Think of some more exciting words that you could include in your vocabulary, one, but also include as you work on your RPM blocks. Just take maybe 60 seconds for this. And if you want, you could post some in the chat box as well, if you would like.
Starry eyes and cellophane, she takes her walk, she makes her plans. A truck bails down the avenue, there's broken glass, a missing pew at church. Maybe I was wrong, maybe time's too strong. Are we
Powerful, phenomenal, over the top, do anything, unstoppable.
When everyone is gone, are we breaking title to ask the question why? We live and then we die, I think I'm fine. Maybe I'll write you from the other side.
And thank you. We put up on the screen. You may not be able to see it because there's a lot of words there, but we put up on the screen some words. But if you actually go to your workbook is a phenomenal resource. And if you don't have it right now, that's cool. But on page 11 to 19, it's broken down by areas of your life. How cool is that? Yes. Merry Christmas. Happy birthday. All right, let's go ahead and wrap that up. How many people came up with some new words that you're excited about, that you think you'll be able to utilize? Yeah, excellent, fantastic. Well, I often get asked the question, what's the easiest way to use language in your RPM? Just do it. Just do it. Use it. Don't think about it. Don't think about it. Do it. Well, one of the ways that you can use language is to bring some emotion to your roles, because the power of roles, they're just the different hats or the different costumes, as I said, that you wear. And here's what I encourage you, and I said this, but I know there's been a lot of information that we've gone through. What I always encourage people to do as they're getting started in RPM, putting together their categories of improvement, creating RPM blocks, start with basic language. Start with basic language and then juice it up. Because when people try to go for the really juicy, emotionally charged words, sometimes they get themselves stuck in their head. And they aren't able to make the kind of progress that they desire to make. So start with the basics. And you can go from, in fact, let's go ahead and put up the category of health and the physical body. Let's go ahead and put that category up. You could start with exerciser. That could be a role for your health category of improvement. Next level up might be kick butt athlete. And the next level up from there might be absolute Adonis. All right. Let's go ahead and look at some a family situation or a family category. You could go from wife and mother to creator of the good life, and then to surprise sorcerer. Surprise sorcerer. Now, here's the key. Roles are really a shortcut to get the results that you want. And the more emotion that you bring to those roles, the quicker you're going to get there. the quicker you're going to get there. And so let's go ahead and take a minute to give this some thought. You know, we can get in our heads. When you're in your head, you're dead. And the truth is that language is very personal. Language is very, very personal. And you know, what might excite one person might not be exciting for another person at all. So the key is you must realize that it's personal. And when you're working on your language, you know, when you're taking a look, like, you know, for your roles, for instance, and you're trying to make them more emotionally charged, have more emotional juice in them, ask yourself this question. It's simple. Does this language excite me or juice me or get my blood flowing more than what I had before? And if the answer is yes, you're on the right path. If the answer is no, then you're not on the right path. But, you know, have fun with this. Have fun with this and really use it as an opportunity to get more juice in your life. And you know, for some people, this might initially be easier than it is for others. But I can tell you for personal experience, it's like anything else. You just need to do some work and you know, do some heavy lifting and take action. And you'll be amazed at how quickly you're able to use language in a more powerful way. All right, so in your seat right now, in your seat, move your body, pretend there was somebody next to you, and you know, give them a massage, That's it. There you go. All right, move that body. Fantastic. Oh, yes. Virtual high fives. Come on, people. Virtual high fives. There you go. I love it. Let's talk about the triad. Now, I know many of you have had experience with the triad. All right. Many of you have had experience with the triad. My encouragement to you, and I made this same encouragement to people that were already familiar with RPM. Listen to this next section as though you were hearing about the triad for the very first time, because I guarantee you, you will learn new things. You will hear things that you didn't hear before. All right? If you're willing to do that, raise your right hand and say yes. All right? Raise your right hand and say yes. Excellent. I don't need to hear you. Yeah, there we go. Just a little delay there. The Zoomiverse is got a little delay. It's all good. Well, triad. Triad is just a fancy name for a recipe to recreate any emotional state that you've ever experienced, or really that anybody has ever experienced. It's just a recipe. And it allows us to tap into more purposefully the power of state. And I've said, the start of every program, state is everything. The better the state you're in, the better you're going to perform. Everything, even things that are unpleasant, will go better than if you're not in a great state. So if you're in a great state and you have to, you know, work through some unpleasantness, you're going to be better off than if you're in a lousy state and then have to still try to work through some unpleasantness. Now, there's three components, as you would expect, because it's the triad. There's three components, and we're gonna just give you a quick, highlight of each of them. Then we're gonna drill down a little bit. The first component, and if you put a triangle on the page, the base is always the physiology. Your base is always the physiology. On the left-hand side of your triangle, that triad, is focus and beliefs. Sometimes it's just shown as focus, but I like to include focus and beliefs because you want to get the, the focus and the beliefs. They go hand in hand. And then last but not least, on the right-hand side of your triad is language, And let's drill down a little bit on each one of these. Physiology. Now, some things that are included in physiology. If you want to put in the chat box any things that you know about physiology, okay, that's good. Yes, it's how you stand. It's how you breathe. It's how you move your body. Is your weight balanced on your feet? Are you leaning to one side? Is your head up? Is your head down? Are you breathing fully? Are you breathing shallowly? Those are all aspects of physiology. And some other things that are aspects of physiology are things like how hydrated are you? Because if you're not hydrated, that is going to impact your state. If you've been eating healthy and on a regular basis, if you haven't eaten in 24 hours, that might impact your state some. How about sleep? Have you just pulled 3 all-nighters to finish the big project for your most important client? That is likely going to impact your state. Those are all components of your physiology. All right. Now, what we have on this slide here are some questions. If you're trying to figure out somebody else's physiology, here are a couple of questions. And I just ran through a whole bunch of other options, and keep it simple. Keep it simple, because, I've shared this on a number of occasions. I had this belief that things had to be hard in order to be valuable. If they weren't difficult, they weren't challenging, it obviously couldn't be a powerful tool. It couldn't be a helpful tool. And that simply isn't the case. Keep it simple, silly, the KISS principle. Keep it simple, silly. There's other versions of it. I prefer keep it simple, silly. Another fun version is keep it simple, Sally. But whatever works for you, keep it simple. It is an unbelievably powerful tool. Just embrace it and trust that it is as powerful as it is. And once you use it and play around with it a few times, you'll see that. Let's move on to the focus and beliefs. And this is one place where you can keep it simple. You can just ask yourself or the person you're working with, what are you focused on right now? It really could be that simple. What are you focused on when you're in this state? What are you focused on? What are you focused on right now? And then, what kind of beliefs do you have? And you can, provide some examples. What kind of beliefs do you have about breaking through barriers? What kind of beliefs do you have about your ability to accomplish tasks successfully? What kind of beliefs do you have about your ability to influence others? Because, these beliefs are critically important. That's the physiology. That's the focus and belief. And last but not least, we have language. And this is where you just want to pay attention to what kinds of words are you using, words or phrases. Some people, when they're excited, they use this, that's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. You want to capture these key words or phrases. I kick ass, whatever it is, just capture the language that you use when you're in this particular state. Now, the truth is, there's states, there's triads for everything. There's triads for everything. There's triads for being excited. There's triads for being sad. There's triads for being depressed. There's triads for when you do well going bowling. Anything that you can imagine, there is a triad for it. And there are triads for it, even if you don't think about there being a triad. And at one of the recent events, I was speaking with one of my my friends, and somebody had said 6 minutes. 6 minutes. And it immediately took me to a triad that I hadn't accessed in close to 40 years. Because when I was at West Point, I went to airborne school. And there's lots of things, that you learn at airborne school. But one of them is how to jump out of a perfectly good airplane. All right. And so you're sitting in the back of a big aircraft. The doors are open. The back of the aircraft is open. Wind is just blowing like crazy. And when you get close to the drop zone, which means you're going to get out of the plane shortly, when you're 6 minutes away, the jump master, who is in the back, responsible for getting you ready and getting you out of the plane, he or she gets up and starts screaming at the top of their lungs, 6 minutes, 6 minutes, 6 minutes. And you probably can't see it, but I got goosebumps on my arms because there is a triad that I had, and it's still a part of me. This just shows you how powerful triads are. It's a triad for jumping out of an airplane, because you'd better be ready when you jump out of an airplane. And I didn't know anything about triads, but there's no question that I had a triad. And what's so cool about triads is that you can access them and use them for other things. And I haven't accessed I'll just call it my 6-minute triad from jump school for over 40 years, actually. But if I need to get myself in a peak state quickly, you trust me, I will be using this now, because it is so hardwired. I mean, it is hardwired. Now, one of the things that, as I said, I'm the head trainer, so I have responsibility for the trainers and the senior leaders. And one of the things we, used to say to people is you should have a trainer triad, or you should have a senior leader triad. And that's a good thing, because when you're supporting people at an event, it's great to have a powerful trainer triad if you're a trainer, or senior leader triad if you're a senior leader. And what we realized is that, what we really want people to do is to have their triad of them at their absolute best. The triad of them at their absolute best. And so what we're going to do, and I know many of you have done this, okay? I know many of you have done this. And if you've been around me at all, there always is another level. And we're going to go for that level right now. So if you've done this a bunch of times, do it as though you're doing it for the first time. I'm going to lead you through a little exercise. You're going to just be fully associated, meaning you just stay in state. I'm going to kind of walk you through it. You don't have to take notes while we're doing this. I will give you a few minutes at the end of this so that you can capture your notes. Just play along, follow my instructions, and trust that your conscious mind, and even more importantly, your other than conscious mind, is going to remember the things that you think about and the things that you come up with for each of these 3 components: for your physiology, for your focus and belief, and for your language. If you're ready, say yes. All right, very good. So here's the deal. Let's go ahead. If you're able, stand up. Go ahead, stand up. And let's start by just closing your eyes for a moment. Take a deep breath in and let it out. And take another deep breath in and let it out. And take one more deep breath in and let it out. And let's go ahead and start some music. And as you're standing there, see yourself stepping into your absolute best self triad. Whatever that looks like for you, it's going to be different for every person, but see yourself stepping into your absolute best life triad right now in this moment. That's it. Stand the way you stand then, breathe the way you breathe then, move your body the way you move your body then. Look off into the distance with your eyes closed, like you do when you are in your absolute best self triad. That's it. That's it. Again, feeling it in every cell of your body, and feeling how empowering that feels to be stepping into your absolute best self triad. Now, as you stand this way, and as you picture yourself with your eyes closed, look around, see some of the other people that are there that you're influencing, that you are having an impact on, and feel how great that feels. That's it. That's it. And now, with your eyes closed, what are you focused on right now? What are you focused on? Are you focused on how things are going to work out the way you want them to? Are you focused on how everything in your life has prepared you for this moment? What are you focused on? That's it. Whatever comes to you, just make a mental note of it and see yourself stepping into your absolute best self triad and feeling it in every cell of your body. And now think about some of the beliefs that you have when you are at your best self. When you are at your best self, play full out. Makes no difference if anybody's around you, just play full out. See yourself owning your absolute best self triad. And what are some of the beliefs you have? What are some of the beliefs you have about your ability to break through barriers? That's it. That's it. What are some of your beliefs about your ability to influence other people? Yes. Yes, that's it. Excellent. Excellent. What are some of the beliefs you have about handling adversity? You can handle anything that comes your way. Yes, that's it. Again, feeling it in every cell of your body, feeling yourself owning the absolute best self triad right now, seeing yourself at your absolute best. In fact, see yourself in a way that maybe you didn't even believe was possible for you. Feel it. Feel it in every cell of your body, in every cell of your being. That's it. That's it. And what is some language? What is some language that you use when you're in this best self triad? Maybe you're going to call it something else. Maybe it's your kick-ass triad. Maybe it's a do whatever it takes triad. Maybe it's your rock on triad. Whatever it is, step into it. Feel it, see it, own it. Feel it in every cell of your being. And just when you think there's not another level, feel yourself taking it to another level, owning it even more. And on a scale of 1 to 10, if you're at a 8 right now, take it up to a 9 or a 10, or heck, take it up to a 12 or a 15. You don't have to limit yourself to a 1 to 10 scale. Own it. Own it in every cell of your being. With your eyes closed, look around and see the people that you are influencing from this best self triad, your kick-ass triad, your do whatever it takes triad. And maybe hear some of the things that they say to you in thanks, in appreciation. That's it. That's it. Intensify it. Feel it even more. Feel it even more. And now, one more time, just when you think there's not another level, take it up to another level. So if you were at a 10, take it up to a 15. If you were at an 8, take it up to a 10. Whatever it takes, move your body. Say something to yourself. Say some things that you say to yourself when you are in this place of kicking ass and taking names, doing whatever it takes. Feel it. Own it. That's it. That's it. Own it. Feel it in every cell of your being. That's it. That's it. All right. Now, go ahead and grab a piece of paper, put a big triangle on that piece of paper, physiology on the bottom, focus and beliefs on the left, language on the right, and write down all of the things that you remember from your absolute best self triad. Don't overthink it. Whatever comes to you. How are you standing? Standing tall, breathing deeply, head back, head up, whatever it was. Right now, just write. Write as quickly as you can. That's it. Go. Big smile on your face. Again, keeping yourself in that absolute best self triad. What do you notice about, what do you remember about the focus that you had? What do you remember about some of the beliefs that you had? What's some of the language that you had? Again, just write anything and everything that you remember. And big smile on your face. You got this. How many people could use a little more time? Yes, okay. Another maybe 2 minutes, 2 minutes. Focus. Again, what do you notice about that physiology that you had when you were in your absolute best self triad? What language did you use? I rock. I kick ass. I take names. What are some of the beliefs that you had about what was possible for you? That's it. What did you focus on? What did some of the people that were around you, and maybe you didn't even think there were people around you, but what were some of the things that people around you said and noticed about you? That's it. Excellent. Another 60 seconds, another 60 seconds. You're going to remember something right now that you thought you forgot, but you're going to remember it so that you can write it down. Just trust that it's the right thing. That's it. You can remember a belief that you had. Go ahead and write it down. Belief that you didn't get written down yet. Just trust whatever comes to you, just write it down. You got this. You're doing great. You'll see a lot of people working. I'm going to give you another 45 seconds. You're doing great. You're doing great. What else did you notice about your physiology? What else did you notice about your language? What did you notice about what you were focusing on or the beliefs that you had? Whatever comes to you, just get it down. That's it. "15 seconds. 15 seconds. So on the count of 3, we're going to celebrate your absolute best self triad. Here we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Yes, yes. Looking good, looking good. Here we go, here we go. Yes. All right, virtual high fives, virtual high fives. That's it. Now the $99 question. The $99 question is, what do I do with this? What do I do with this? All right, so I'm going to answer the $99 question. First of all, you want to keep this piece of paper or whatever, wherever you put it. If you put it in a computer file, keep it handy, because the other than conscious mind is unbelievably powerful. And so we've opened up a bunch of loops in your mind right now, and you are actually going to remember components of your triad that you didn't write down. And you're actually probably even going to think of some additional components. Man, that needs to be a component of my triad. That needs to be a component of my triad, because that's going to help me show up at my absolute best. So keep this nearby. Keep this nearby. The thing that you want to do now, 3 times every day, 3 times every day, you want to exercise. You want to exercise this emotional triad. Exercise your emotional triad. And how do you go about doing that? You always want to start with physiology. And you know, here's how exactly how I do this when I am implementing a new triad. I take the piece of paper, okay? I take the piece of paper that I wrote it on, and I literally hold it out in front of me, okay? I hold it out in front of me, and I use it like it's a recipe. And I always start with the physiology, all right? I always start with the physiology. You know, how am I standing? How am I breathing? So I'm standing tall. I'm breathing deeply. I got my head back and up. I've got this relaxed feeling in my shoulders, but my spine is really strong. Whatever it is for you, whatever you captured, as you read it, then do it. Because it really is as simple as a recipe. And you want to do this, you know, from a fully associated place. And you do it so that it's not an intellectual exercise. It's not like, oh, let me do this, and like you're looking at somebody else doing this. No, you're doing it, and you're getting in state, and you're feeling it. And here's the truth. Here's the truth, everybody. You know, if this is one of the first times you've done it, it's likely that the first few times you exercise your triad, it's going to feel a little clunky. It's going to feel a little clunky, and that's okay. That's okay. It's okay, because you've got to get it in your body. And, you know, it's an important lesson to learn. If you haven't learned it already in life, now would be a great time to learn it. And that is that to get great at something, you have to start by doing that thing not so great. And it sounds so obvious, but it's not for many people. It wasn't for me. I went through a big portion of my life before I got, involved with Tony, just doing things that I knew I could do extremely well. Well, I got better and better at those things that I already was doing extremely well, but I was not expanding my repertoire. I was not doing, taking on new skills and breaking new barriers and breaking through and doing different things. I was doing the things that I knew how to do well. But the way to really build muscle is to do some different things, to stretch yourself outside your comfort zone. So, and hear me, if this is the first time you've been exposed to the triad, just jump into the deep end of the pool. And as I say, use it as a recipe. The first time you do it, it'll, some of it'll make sense and some of it, you won't quite feel it. But then when you do it a second time, a little bit more of it will feel right. And then some won't still quite be there. But each time it is like exercising your emotional muscles 3 times a day minimum. 3 times a day minimum. And I don't want to hear your excuses, okay? Because this is not a 30-minute exercise. It's literally 2 or 3 minutes, 5 minutes max if you really want to, spend a lot of time on it. But dedicate at least 2 minutes 3 times a day to exercise your emotional muscles. All in favor, raise your right hand. Come on, raise your right hand. All in favor, raise your right hand. I can't see all of you, but raise your right hand, even if I can't see you. All right, raise your right hand and say yes. All right, excellent, excellent. All right. And as I said, when you are in a peak state, or now more specifically, when you are utilizing your best self triad, your ultimate best self triad, everything will be easier. Everything will go smoother. Even things that are difficult, they will be less difficult. I'm not suggesting that nothing will be difficult for you. That's not life. But everything will be better when you utilize your ultimate best self triad, or really any positive, powerful triad. And you're in control. You're in control, so take control, take charge, because you want to own this. And here's the reason we did this now as part of the RPM training, because the state that you're in when you're doing your RPM planning will change your planning. Your planning will be much more focused. It'll be much more powerful. You'll do things in ways that you didn't think you could do them. You will remember things about the planning process that you didn't think you knew, because you're in a great state. All right, I think I have sufficiently beat that horse to a place of just absolute wonderfulness. All right, let's do a quick review. RPM. You want to make sure that you're doing your RPM from a fully associated place. RPM is emotional. If you're creating RPM blocks and you are not doing them from a fully associated place, seeing yourself having accomplished it, if you're working on your categories of improvement and you're not seeing yourself already there, whatever that ultimate vision is for yourself, and then reading through that ultimate purpose and feeling the juice that you feel as a result of it, you're not tapping into the power of RPM, because the emotion is what distinguishes what Tony does from what everybody else does out there. All right. You must do it from a fully emotionally, a fully associated place, an emotional place, a fully associated place. And that's what we were talking about today. Language is vitally important, and that will help you, tap into the emotion. System of thinking. We know we have 3 questions. What's the result? Why is this important to me? Why is this an absolute must? And what are the actions that are going to move me from where I'm at to where I want to go? again, this is truly that simple. RPM's top down. You got to start with your driving force. All right. If you haven't wrapped that up, if you haven't finalized that, if you don't have that in a really solid place, we're going to spend a little bit of time making that happen. Language. Emotion drives everything. Emotion drives everything. I say this all the time. Let's just say it that way, when you have a really powerfully emotionally charged purpose statement, it's not a matter of if something will happen, it's just a matter of when. And that powerful emotionally charged purpose statement is going to help you close the gap from where you're at to where you want to be much, much quicker. And then just bringing language to your roles, to your categories of improvement, to your result statements, to your purpose statements. That's the way to tap into the X factor. That's the way to tap into the X factor. And then last but not least, the triad. The triad. Exercise your triad. Again, it's an emotionally based device to help you take your life to the next level, to live your life at the highest possible level. And, we don't ever finish these sessions without having some homework. All right, without having some homework. Number one, embrace the RPM thinking. This is a repeat from every session we've done. It's probably going to be a repeat for every session we do. Embrace the RPM thinking. Always be thinking about what's the result? Why is this important to me? What are the action items? It's really that simple. And that's why when I was doing the review, I encouraged you to just grab a napkin, an envelope, anything, and jot down a result, some components of a purpose statement, and a couple of action items, because it really is that simple. But you want to train your mind, because when we train our mind to focus, it changes everything. It changes everything. It allows us to truly have a life of our dreams, not of somebody else's making. Complete at least 2 more magnificent 7s. Complete at least 2 more magnificent 7s for your categories of improvement. And here's the deal. I know I've seen some of your posts. I know some of you have completed all your magnificent 7s for your categories of improvement. Then go back and juice them up using some of the things we talked about with the language today. And again, make sure that you take a look at that workbook, because as I said, today's workbook, pages 11 to 19, has got one of the most amazing gifts for you that you could possibly get. There's a list of emotionally charged language for all of the common categories of improvement. Is that fantastic or what? Yes. It is absolutely fantastic. And then use and improve your ultimate best self triad. Use and improve your ultimate best self triad. Use the recipe that you created today. Add to that recipe. Add to that recipe. Because you're going to think of things that you thought of while you're doing it, but you didn't write them down. And you're going to think of things that you didn't even think of while you were doing it. And you're going to want to write those down. This is an evolutionary kind of process. You got to put it someplace where you see it regularly. Put it someplace where you see it regularly. Post it on your mirror in the bathroom. Post it, make it as a screensaver on your computer or on your phone, whatever it takes. If you're really old school, you can put it on a piece of paper or a 3x5 card, fold it up, stick it in your pocket, and pull it out periodically during the course of the day. And at least 3 times a day, exercise your triad. Exercise your triad. Use that recipe, add to that recipe, refine that recipe. You've got this. You've got this. You are building some phenomenal momentum. You can feel it. I'm certain you can feel your understanding of RPM each session, and between the sessions, creeping higher and higher, feeling more confident, more certain about what it is that you're doing. And the only way that process continues is when you continue to utilize it. And if you make a mistake or you realize you did something wrong, celebrate. Celebrate the fact that you did something wrong, because now you can learn. Because if you just did everything right all the time, you would only know what you knew. But take it to the next level. Take it to the next level. Well, we are coming to the end of today's session. We actually might even finish a minute early. How cool would that be? I know you should make a note of this, because this is a Tony Robbins program, and we're going to finish a minute early. But let's talk about our next session. Our next session, June 16, 2022, June 16, 2022, noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. Same bat channel. Be back here. Put it on your calendars right now. June 16. And just as a reminder, because it's going to be so phenomenal, next week, Thursday, May 26th, same time, noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, you're going to have Tony Robbins himself with the Life Force Health Summit. Yes, the Life Force Health Summit. You want to be there. You want to be there, and you want to be there live, because there's going to be some great information, and you don't want to be trying to listen to it on the recording after the fact. You want to be there while it's happening. All right. Well, we are at the end of the third RPM session. You have successfully completed 3 RPM sessions. We are halfway through your RPM training, and we're going to celebrate like the crazy, goofy, wild people that we are. And then I'm going to send you off to work on your RPM blocks and your categories of improvement and your triad. All right, here we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Yes. Love you. Thank you. See you next week at the Health Summit. And I'll see you next month for episode 4 of RPM. Love you. Bye, everybody.